Right then, so Creed 3 is a film that I went to see last week. Now, this video, I'm going to be just having a bit of a discussion with one of my co-reviewers, John, that you've seen on the channel recently. For context, we didn't see this film together and we haven't really talked about the film since either one of us saw it. So this is the first time we've had a chat about it. Now, John didn't like the film quite as much as I did. I thought it was pretty good, to be honest. And if you've seen the other two films, you kind of get the gist of where the story is at this point in the Creed character's career and so on. And if you've been following the news about the developments with this franchise, obviously, Sylvester Stallone is kind of out of it at this point in time. One of the original producers of the original Rocky film and the series from that point on, Irwin Winkler, and his family, I think it's his children, are not on good terms with Stallone. So, given the direction that this movie went in as well, Stallone isn't involved with this, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, in some ways it's a good thing, because ultimately the question was, does the Creed character and therefore the franchise stand on its own? I say yes. I enjoyed this film, like I say. I think it's at a point now where it needs to be a Creed film, and having Rocky in there just really did kind of overshadow the character. And obviously that was kind of the point of the character, his journey, especially in that first film, is not being in the shadow of, well, Apollo Creed, but in the same sense, from a movie-going perspective, the Creed character is in the shadow of Rocky. So this movie kind of tests that, and I think it passed, to be honest. But we'll get to the video itself anyway. Like I say, it's a bit of a casual chat. Is this one? So apologies for some of the things that we kind of talk about here and feature in this, but make of it what you will. And I do say it's a good film. Go see it. I recommend it, and give it a chance.
I'm gonna have to have the bird out, like I say, for this one, because he'd have been in the background making loads of noises. So I figure if I've got him here, it'll be fairly quiet anyway. So ignore him for now. So we're talking about Creed 3, which we saw. We didn't see this together, did we?
No, we didn't see it together. Are you on camera?
Yeah, it'll come up on the actual on the video.
So see Creed 3 together. Did I see it first? I think I did, didn't I?
Yeah, it was a while before I got to see it. It had been out for a couple of weeks, and by the time I did, I was literally, and this is a first for me, I was the only person in the cinema, which I've never had happen before. But it was a weird time of day in Burnley. So
yeah, because I know that we were talking about it, but I think you was originally planning to get a lift through. I didn't fancy going in a car because I'm not a big car fan, to be fair. So I ended up going with my brother. So when I say I'm not a car fan, I'll go as far as the likes of Keighley, if it makes sense, to Skipton, because it's not difficult. It's when there's when you factor in potential motorway trips and that sort of thing, I get a little bit uneasy at that.
yeah.
So that's why I didn't do that. But anyway, we ended up going to Keighley Cinema to it, and it's the first time in a while I've been to Cinema One, and they've actually had a new screen in there, and they've got a new sound system in. So I was pretty taken aback by that, because that isn't what I was expecting, and it was really good in terms of the presentation, the screen, the audio. It was a really good experience.
Yeah, so for context, we haven't seen it together. We're not doing a review as such. This is just more of a discussion, so it will have spoilers. It's just a discussion between two people that haven't spoken about the film since watching it separately.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, I think we've messaged about it, haven't we? And I think we were both in agreement. We both liked it enough.
I thought it was at the time. I was a bit. I'll be honest, but once I've thought about it, my view on it changed. My initial thoughts on it after watching it was I felt an incredible letdown. I personally thought Creed 2 was better than Creed 1. That's just my view.
Right.
I thought Creed 3 would elevate it to another level. So when Creed 3 was on, I was continuously waiting for something to happen where it would take that film to the next level, and it never took it to the next level for me. It was
Yeah.
like it was it was almost like there was about a good scene. It was almost like there was a scene and a half away from it being something absolutely spectacular. The character Damien, when he got reintroduced, it just seemed so. It was so anticlimactic how he came back into Adonis's life. It was that sort of thing. He said he was going after the title. You could have built it similar to the Clubber Lang thing. You could have had him being an absolute monster, give a different name, and then introduced himself. Do you not remember me? My name is actually this, and we were friends because I took time for you.
Yeah.
I felt that would have fit more if you could have linked it quite nicely. You could have paid a bit of an homage to Rocky 3 at that point in time. So to that extent, I was a little bit. It was all right, and the fight scene at the end. My view at that time was, why has the film got why am I seeing it in with bars around it like it's in a prison cell? What on earth has that with a boxing fight at the end of a Rocky film? It's the first Rocky film I've ever watched where I've not wanted to shadow box with somebody at the end of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was definitely the worst. I mean, it's a high standard, but it was the worst fight that I've seen in any of the movies so far. Even in Rocky 5, it was a street fight at the end. It wasn't quite as satisfying as what came before, but it was still quite satisfying in its own kind of unique way. I think this one was just a little bit too. I don't know. It didn't really do anything new other than to, like you say, have all those like weird special effects. So
Yeah,
I didn't
it was a strange set of special effects. It just was, and I'm just looking to know if is there going to be a Creed 4, because I really don't.
Apparently,
Oh,
I've
it's
heard that there
been
is.
confirmed,
Yeah.
which is
We'll
disappointing.
see.
Do you think Brian Blessed will come back for that, though? Or do you think his character was a one and done? I mean,
Yeah.
it was very strange as that sort of like timekeeping character. I just didn't expect to see Brian Blessed in that film shouting,
Yeah.
"He's alive!"
Yeah. Random. Just to
Yeah,
confirm, he's not in the film.
it's not. I just completely made that up out of context. But no, it was just a very strange experience. But having slept on it, and glad I did sleep on it, because in retrospect, the film isn't that bad. I think I had just built it up expecting it to be a whole lot more than what it
Yeah.
was. That's my honest view. If I hadn't have seen a Creed film and somebody put it on, because let's face it, I think you could happily watch that without watching any of the other two. I really do feel that, because
Yeah.
it starts off with the Tony Bellew character.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Mason, not
uh,
Mason.
it's pretty Ricky.
Conlon.
Yeah,
Conlon.
that's
Yeah.
it. And there he drops his titles, he's retired, and this dude comes back and he fights, and then he's champion of the world at the end again. It's almost like a self-contained film.
Yeah. It spans over 3 years as well, doesn't it? Because it says because he's fighting Conlon, and then it says he hasn't fought for 3 years. So
Yeah, and at that point, I didn't feel like I were in there 3 years at all. But I did feel a sense of letdown, and I don't know what it was. And I can't help but think back to Sylvester Stallone's view that they are milking the character, that they are milking the franchise for what it's worth. And maybe Sylvester actually has a point.
yeah, and he said that they were taking the franchise into a dark place, and it was really. I mean, you can say that some of the others were dark, but in this one, literally, there are scenes in this where guns get pulled. We've not seen that in a Rocky film before. We've not seen anything too much like that. But it's not a Rocky film; it's a Creed film, I guess. So, doing their own thing, going off in a different direction. But that's not necessarily a good thing.
No, it isn't, but it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think as well what was interesting, I was watching the Cinematica. My birds flying off. I was watching the Cinematica review of this, and he was making a good point that before with the Rocky films, we've not seen any of the characters that he's fought, apart from Apollo Creed. You just kind of go away. Obviously, boxers continue to have careers and be relevant, whereas in the previous films, everyone that he's fought has just kind of gone away and not come back. Whereas this one, it reintroduces the Conlon character, even Drago, and he has some pretty good bits in it as well, to the point where they're kind of now friends.
I can't help but think that the Drago character was being introduced pending the Blu-ray release.
Yeah.
And the use of a TV series. I just got the feeling he's in there for a reason. But what's interesting about that dude is he's not proficient, he's not world level, but that boy is, I would say, European level boxer in real life.
Yeah, he's a real one, isn't he? And I thought the story was pretty good as well. The fact that the character that Jonathan Majors plays, effectively the bad guy, he kind of hustles Creed, doesn't he? Because he's trying to work his way into getting a fight at the title, and obviously Drago is the main contender, so they kind of shuffle him out of the way by having an incidental assault. That takes him out of the running, but there's nothing incidental about it. The guy that assaults him is friends with this guy, the main guy that's wanting to take on the champion.
That's true, and I'm just sort of looking at it now. They are going to be it, and I don't know where it'll go from here. But yeah, it was an interesting scene, wasn't it, that they got him beaten up? But they really did. But looking at it, he hasn't done very well, hasn't Creed 3? It's only made 224 at the box office.
Yeah, I think it depends on the budget and the marketing as well for how much they need to make to break even. If we compare it to larger films, because interesting is the Ant-Man film, which I've no interest in being Marvel, and that had the same actor in it, the main villain of that film, and with that one, obviously spent a lot on the film itself and a lot on the marketing. And just didn't do well at all.
He hasn't even hit the best-selling. He hasn't even hit all-time North Americans, and that talking there, Rocky Balboa was 1,124th. All-time North America. Creed 3 isn't even doing it, which 155 million, 224 million. But yeah, it's don't get me wrong. I think there's a future to be had with Creed. I hope they learn from it, because I think they need to put more emphasis on action. I think they need to go back to what they're good at, and I think they need to go back at showing boxing movies. Don't sort of turn the boxing movie into a hybrid sequence about two dudes sharing a cell together.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's, I don't know. I got a bit, what's the word I would use? I think I just got a bit flustered by that, and a bit sort of, this is not what I expected. But please do not think for a second I'm not saying this film isn't good. It is a good film. It just was not up to the expectations that I'd set it.
Yeah, I wasn't buzzing coming out of it like I was, say, with Top Gun Maverick, or even the first Creed. Even the second one, I'll probably put it on a par with maybe the second one. Maybe not quite as good, because obviously with that film you had Dolph Lundgren and all that kind of stuff coming back again. So
for me, there's only been Rocky IV, the theatrical, that's worse than Creed 3, and that's being honest. No, that's like Rocky V.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like Rocky V. I think even Stallone disowned that film in some ways.
Yeah, I think it was a strange decision to do, because he would have still, he lost all his money, but even if he'd have lost all his money, he'd have still made money off merchandise and stuff. So it was a far too unbelievable for my liking in that regards.
Yeah,
you just know how sports world works. If you're into sports, you would have thought, no, there's no way he would have lost everything at all after just between going to Russia and coming home from Russia. It just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I think they tried to explain it in the fifth one where he wouldn't be able to get sponsors because the criminal investigation of the bent accountant would bring out a load of his criminal past or something like that. loan sharks and stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. That didn't really quite cover it because he would have had options other than just that.
Done. But you know, I sound like I'm being really down on Creed 3, and I am. I'm just down on my own expectation of it, and that's the last time I'm going to. No, it isn't the last time I'm going to do that at all, because I'm fully expecting John Wick 4 to be the best film I've seen.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, isn't it? We build ourselves up into expectations, and I do it frequently with movies, and then let me get let down. But yeah,
exactly. No, well, it's one of the things where it can go either way. Like, who would have predicted? I know I mentioned it like 2 minutes ago, but like Top Gun Maverick, for example, who would have predicted how good that film would be and how well recognized as good and successful it would be?
I expected Top Gun Maverick, to do really well globally weekend one, and then I expected it to just ridiculously drop off. And the fact that it didn't, I was like, oh, okay. So it was the fact it didn't drop off, which encouraged me to actually watch it, because I'm like, why isn't it dropping off? And when I watched it, I'm like, I finally understand why it didn't drop off. Incredible film. It's such a good time to be a cinema fan, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Rather than having like an excessive number of, I mean, there is an excess of films, Marvel films and TV shows and stuff that are crap, but at the same time, there's just a nice number, so you're not being bombarded with big movies. There's a nice balance of good films coming out as well at the same time.
I mean, I was really liked before we started this. I hope you're going to show it. You was cosplaying as Angelina Jolie's character in The Eternals. I really like that. You look well.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, somebody's got to do it, you know.
Amazing is that one. No, but that goes to show, doesn't it? You know, Eternals. That's a film that at one time we'd have been hyped for, and it was. I can assure you, I've watched it, and it was the worst Marvel film I have actually seen.
Yeah.
Oh, I know we've gone off track a little bit, but
look,
if I'm looking at it from a point of view of expectations, my expectations was both high for Eternals and Creed 3. I hadn't fully understood what was happening with Phase 4 at this point with Marvel, hadn't grasped it at all. I was utterly demoralised after seeing it. I wasn't utterly demoralised after Creed 3, and that's the difference. They've still been able to make a very proficient and a very well-made sequel, just not the level of action that I would have wanted to see.
Yeah. I know what you mean as well, saying like it could have been a standalone. If you'd have not seen the other films, you'd still enjoy it. It's like the film Southpaw. I mean, that's like a standalone film, and that's quite a dark one as well.
It's Jake Gyllenhaal, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that film. That was a really good one, was that?
He's also in a remake, I think, of The Roadhouse, and he's playing a UFC fighter. There was a big UFC event last weekend, and there must be a tie-in with UFC, because at the weigh-ins for everything and in the fights, all the actors came out. So Jake Gyllenhaal's characters came out, and they were coming out going, "You're all going to be in film. You're all going to be in this film. Make some noise for this." And it was an absolute incredible, because UFC sellouts for like weigh-ins, they're absolutely incredible. You get thousands there. So that scene will be absolutely electric. And when you actually I've seen the footage of it, and the crowd are very knowledgeable, so they know to cheer, and it comes across like it's a proper fight. It looks incredible. And yeah, they did it in between sort of, I don't know if they did it at the beginning or if they did it in between fights, but it really brought the whole event to life. So I can't wait to see how that looks on a big screen. I think that'll be incredible to see, because it's a classic, is Roadhouse, and throwing a UFC event into it, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays into it.
Cool. I'm going to have to cut it short anyway, because I was getting a call just then. I don't know if you realised, but it just cut out. So I got most of what you were saying anyway, but it's probably going to ring again. So
that's fine. But as always, thank you for having me on, Joseph. And do you fancy maybe after John Wick 4, whether we see it together or whether we see it separate, sort of have a conversation about it there?
Yeah, definitely. All right.
I'll be up for that. And if not, thank you for having us on as always.
Yeah, anytime. I'll just stop.
Your time.